Primary 1 registration is coming, and how do you plan your property move around it to give your child a better chance? Let's talk about this today. Hey guys, this is Ron, and today we are going to dive deep into this topic that comes up in my consultation a lot. How do you plan your property move around the Primary 1 registration period? Whenever I meet homeowners for consultation, I like to take notes down because sometimes the things that we talk about is too good not to share. When I feel that it can help more people to avoid stress and blind spots, I'll make a video like this one. So if you appreciate such content of real consultation and real cases, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment because that motivates me to do more content like this, and of course it is free of charge. And also everyone's situation is different. If you want a customized plan or you just want me to sanity check your ideas, hit me up over here and I'll be happy to help. So what are we covering today? First, we'll go through all the phases of Primary 1 registration, how to better your chance to get into your desired primary school, how to plan on your moving, and new launch address, how do you use it for Primary 1 registration, and finally rent or buy. And I also share my own personal case study on how I structured my strategic move. First up, if your child is going to register for Primary 1 in the next 2 to 3 years, this video is for you. Because some steps like moving house, volunteering, and changing your NRIC address do have lead time. So the earlier you plan, the more options you have. To start things off, let's go through the different phases very quickly. First of all, you have the phase 1. Phase 1 is basically for a child who has a sibling that is in the primary school right now. This is an auto entry, zero stress, the best way to go into a Primary 1 registration. I just put my second child into the primary school because the elder sibling is in there, zero stress, perfect life. Next will be the phase 2A. So in this phase, it is for the alumni, the old boys, old girls, parents who used to be in that primary school, now putting your child into the same primary school. So you'll fall into phase 2A. In phase 2A, you will also have staff members or your child has a sibling who previously was in the primary school. Next will be phase 2B. This is the phase that many parents aim for. You can qualify for this phase through parent volunteering, but not all schools accept parent volunteers. So you need to check with your desired school whether they accept parent volunteer. You need to do at least 40 hours of parent volunteer, and you must complete the parent volunteer before the registration. You can also qualify for this phase through religious or clan affiliation. So for some schools, they are affiliated with a certain clan or a certain religion. If that school has this particular affiliation, being a member of that church, that clan may just give you the extra boost into this phase 2B. Lastly is grassroots. So you must be a committee member with an endorsement letter to get you into this phase 2B. So a side note is you have to join the grassroots pretty early before you can get into the committee and get the endorsement letter. So if next year is your registration, you are probably too late for the grassroots route. But here's what to take note of. Not all schools offer the same pathways. For example, not all schools have parent volunteer. Not all schools are affiliated to religious groups or clans. So you really need to see your preferred school, what are the different pathways that you can take before choosing what to do to get your child the extra boost. After phase 2B will be phase 2C. This will be the general public, no affiliation, open to all. In previous phases, if there is an oversubscription, the 1 kilometer radius will come into play, and those who are in the 1 kilometer radius will get priority over those who are not. In phase 2C, this 1 kilometer radius comes into play big time because most people who are in phase 2C are the ones who actually move into the 1 kilometer radius. So for phase 2C, if you are not within 1 kilometer radius, the likelihood of you getting into your preferred primary school may be significantly lower. So that is why many parents are moving into the 1 kilometer radius. And what happens if you cannot get into the preferred primary school even after phase 2C? Then you will get phase 2CS, which is the 2C supplementary. Only very limited slots are available in all the schools, so you have to go to a school that has available slots and enroll your child into that school. If not, he or she will be posted to a school of MOE's choice. So to sum up, 1 kilometer radius doesn't guarantee you a spot in the school. It basically just gives you a boost in the phase that you are qualified to be in. So if that phase is oversubscribed, the 1 kilometer radius will will get priority, and that saves you the trouble of going to the phase 2C. And that is why many people are buying into this 1 kilometer radius of their preferred school. But it's not just about owning the property, there are rules. So what are the rules for using the address for your primary 1 registration? Number 1, you must update your address in your NRIC. During the registration, the system only look at your registered address, which means when you log into your SingPass, you must see the address as your residential address. You must also reside in that property for 30 months after the primary 1 registration. This is MOE's way of clamping down on paper address, and the checks are real. We all saw the article that came out recently, and we have seen how Singapore law have dealt with people who flout the rules. So you must be physically living in that address. If you own the property, you cannot rent it out or even leave it empty and still use the address for registration. So an easy way to remember for how long must you stay in that property will be the year after your child complete primary 2. How about using the address of new properties that is still under construction for primary 1 registration? Some parents heard that you must have the vacant possession date before the registration year. Well, that's not true. The correct MOE rule is if you are using a new launch address, the vacant possession date must be no later than 31st December, 2 years after your child's register for primary 1. During the registration, you will need to sign a letter of undertaking as well as email your SMP agreement to the school. So for example, if your child is registering for primary 1 in 2025, the vacant possession date must not be later than 31st December 2027. MOE is very strict on this, and they will not consider any vacant possession date after that date. Most importantly, you need to remember that the 30-month stay will start from the day you moved in and not the day of your primary 1 registration. But still, knowing the vacant possession date, I will advise that you plan conservatively. Don't cut too close to the date so that you have some room for error. If you're planning for your next sale or purchase, need a consult, just reach out to me over here and I'll be happy to help. So should you buy a property within the 1 kilometer radius or should you rent first? Buying sounds like a safer option. Firstly, you save on the rent. You can pay your mortgage installment with your CPF. There's no lifestyle changes if you buy within your means. And also, a lot of people are worried about this. You will not need to worry about not able to renew your lease. But why some still choose to rent within the 1 kilometer radius? So renting where you stay and buy an investment property gives you the flexibility to look into other aspects of a property. For example, the transformation zone, the rental yield, the entry price and exit strategy, as well as affordability. And when the property appreciates, they can exit, use the gains to upgrade to a family-sized unit, still close to the school, but not restricted by that 1 kilometer radius. And that is why people go for that kind of flexibility to decouple the school plan and the investment plan. If you want me to run through your plans and ideas to avoid blind spots and mistakes, you can reach out to me over here and I'll be happy to help. So I'll close with this final thought. Planning for primary 1 isn't just about schools. It's about the life that you want to build around it. When we are planning for our own move a few years ago, we also looked into the various options that we have, whether to buy or to rent. And I joke with my wife, the ones that you like, we cannot afford. The ones we can afford, you don't like. So I think many people will be in such a situation. So finally, we decided to rent when we approached the primary 1 registration. The plan is to secure a seat in the primary school first before we decide to buy for our own stay. And of course, when we buy, we do not need to be within the 1 kilometer radius. We can be slightly out and still have that convenience of commuting and the logistic planning. However, while renting, our capital cannot be sitting there doing nothing. So we decided to buy an investment property focusing on growth, because the logic is owning a property to stay is actually an expense. You'll see that you also have expenses like interest, property tax, maintenance fee, and all that can be equivalent to the amount of rent that you pay. So whether you own a property or rent a property, the expenses is around the same. And that is especially important when you do not have good choices within that 1 kilometer radius. Your hard-earned money may be lost in a property that you are forced to buy just because you need to be within that 1 kilometer radius. And the worst case scenario is you don't get a spot in that preferred primary school and you are stuck in that property. And that's the reason for our plan. If this video helped, like it, share it with your friends who are going through the same phase, and subscribe to the channel so I can make more real content like this for you. This is Ron signing off. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.